So welcome to this afternoon. The heat is a little bit less. We had the usual 35 centigrades, maybe even 38. It's always a bit hard to tell, but that's the usual temperature. And I wanted to show you the secret behind this. So this here is the chicken coop that we built a while ago. It has no chicken at the moment, but very soon we will get a few, and probably also one goose. I have to drive soon to the big city of Cordoba, and close to the city there is a place where they breed all kinds of poultry, and I will visit them and probably come back with a few chicken and probably order a goose. And of course there is the option to get a fertile and egg and use the incubator that we have, but as this is the first time, I'm not really about to do this. There are so many other things, so I will try to get the one goose another way, and they will probably then tell me. And then they will live here, and first we will use regular commercial feed because there's not much else, as you can see. That is about to change, and now I can show you what is behind. So you see the green there. Let me loop around and show you this a little bit better. You also see a water line here. This is not automated yet. We have to do this manually by using that hose there. But you see that we loosened up the soil mechanically, and that is the place where you saw us trying out this power harrow. At the end we used the excavator. That is more straightforward and goes quicker, and it does the job. And so we seeded here the mix of sun hemp, corn and sunflowers. This is a little bit ahead because it was done a week earlier. Then there was something else, and then we could do this again. And now here in the foreground, tiny plants have already shown up. And a few days later, that part was done and also seeded. So very soon this whole area will then be full with greenery. And the plan is to fence this off once the chicken have arrived, and this is not yet ready. So we basically put up two fences, one to protect this from the chicken and also the sheep and horses, because they might want to try this as well. And then we have another poultry net around this, so that the birds stay around their protective chicken coop. And later, so let's say in 3 months, when this has grown, they will then have a feast. So is the plan. And speaking about the plan, next month in August we will order a few more Paulovnia trees. So we basically do this in packages of 48. That is what is easy to handle and arrives within a few days when we order that. August is basically the last opportunity to plant them, and the idea is to set a row here, so this will also loosen up, and of course the same stuff will be seeded and the trees will be planted there. But I guess this time we will place a cardboard at around the Paulovnia trees. We will see. But the idea is to have a line of Paulovnia trees here and also somewhere here, because in the future this area here with the chicken coop will be a pig feeding area. So right now it's for chicken and the trees have to grow, but later there will be a little corral, And once we do this maternity thing with the pigs, for that we need to build a quarantine shelter and all that, but there is nothing wrong to think ahead. Of course, in this case, a few years ahead. But the idea is to use this area for that, because it is right next to the compound, so you can easily walk over there and call the pigs. There will be a path that is fenced in into structures over there, whatever that might entail. I have an idea, but no point in describing it without being able to show it at the moment. But the point is, the pigs will come from there, the pigs and the piglets, or the sows in this case, and they will then be here, and the chicken will then clean this area after the feeding. Hi there, this is Tuscarora. She wants to say hello. That is what she always likes to do. Of course, the flies are bad, but it's not so bad, so no immediate measure needed. Yeah, you are going to be famous. And there in the back there is Solo. You want to know what that is, yeah? You are being filmed. Okay, so very nice. And the one calling is over there, Sakahawea, the blind mare. She's definitely getting better. She's eating well, so problem has been solved. You are moving the camera. You know that. Well, she is a very people-oriented mare, which is very good. And soon, I hope we will be able to play a little bit together, once all kinds of other things have been resolved. So, yeah. There are the other two. And for those new to this channel here, as YouTubers usually say, so the one here in the foreground, the gelding, we call him Solo, is very afraid of people. Careful. He has been treated badly. And the black one, we call her Librada, the liberated one, also hasn't been treated very nice, but she is not as afraid as Solo. Solo always runs away when you approach him. In order to catch him, you really have to corner him and then throw a rope, and once the rope is on his back, he will then freeze and everything is okay from then on. But as long as he can move away, he will. He does not want to do anything with humans anymore. And my plan with the black one is to give her some training once the round pen, probably around here, has been installed again. So far this is being used for the cows, and once the cows are gone, then all this can be reused again for the right purpose. Of course, with all the irrigation, also this takes advantage. I try to chop it down whenever I see it, but of course the seeds are around, and there are many, so that is just there. And I'm pretty sure that this is ragwort, or ragwort, the poisonous plant that the animals won't eat because they know it. What is also interesting is all this that is coming up here, some sort of an aggressive plant. You could call it a weed, but I think pigs do eat it. There have been a lot of pigs in this area for a long time, and the seed is everywhere, and they also create seeds very, very quickly. Here is another one who like to say hello. This is Schneeflocke, and this is a checker. And when one shows up, everybody shows up. So this is how this goes. You get interrupted. So here and there the wind blows a few drops of water over from the sprinkler, because it does not really reach here. It reaches all the way to the edge, but not further down, which is why there is this hose and it gets irrigated here by hand while the sprinkler is running. So here a few drops, and probably what is seeping through, because this has not a lot of bio content, so somehow there is a little bit of moisture, and that is enough for all this to show up. Then of course you can see that, which means that it's drying out, but it is moist so that it can dry out. So I find this quite interesting. And this whole area, just view in the future, this whole area needs to be leveled with fill material that comes out of a pond that is in the process of being dug. Not right now, but soon. And here we will likely put up first a roof made of solar panels, and later this will then transform into the quarantine shelter for pigs. We are a little bit short on power, so we need a place where we can put more solar panels, and I don't want to put them on the roof of this temporary structure. This probably will be torn apart, disassembled, not run over by a bulldozer. So I don't want to put anything there that is needed and needs also to be relocated. It is better, I think, to create a structure here. It is something that we can probably do closer to the end of this year. You might have noticed that the pieces for that gate are still there, and it has not been built, that gate. The day when it was scheduled, it rained, and then there were other things that were more urgent. So there will be a moment. This is there, and we can do this anytime. But we also have vacations coming up, so especially Angel, who is the one who knows how to do this, he is going to be away for a while. It's either take vacation or buy the vacation, and this time we opted for taking the vacation because we are a little bit short on cash, which is also soon to be resolved. But that does not mean that suddenly we will do a lot of expensive activities here. We have a plan to do things that we can do, and we will follow this plan. And that means first here the compound, and once things here are in order, we will then move into the wannabe food forest and add more plants there. And as I mentioned, the vetiver, so let me walk you over there and show you that, because that is kind of the very next thing. So you see that berm there in the center, that is where the vetiver is going to be on both sides, and it will be with a drip irrigation. We have a water line and the outlets for the drip irrigation already there, so it's pretty simple. And the lavender is nice, but there should be more lavender or something else. But I think the vetiver is a lot more urgent, because that provides the mulch, and we can simply cut it down and put it around the trees the same way like we did over there. That vetiver came from other places, so it came from over there and also here from this place. But the idea is to grow it right there where we want to mulch. So it helps the trees because it lifts the water up with the very deep roots, and at the same time the leaves can then be chopped at the end of summer and form soil. So that is the idea. And another thing that I can show you, the palovnia trees here in this area, they are now a little bit older. Those trees, I believe they are now in their third year, and it appears that they have definitely made roots and do not require any irrigation. So we watch them, and it appears that they keep growing and the leaves are of normal size. Some are bigger than the others, but they are growing and there is no help required. So if you look here, let's zoom in a little bit, you can definitely see that this is working out. This area is a little bit tricky because whenever the cold wind is blowing during autumn and winter, it comes right from there where the mountains are, and then these heat-loving plants get this cold wind right blowing right in their faces, so to say. So that is a little bit an issue, but then they are frost hardy. They can sustain negative temperatures, not very negative, but I think -15 or so they can certainly withstand. They are hybrids. They are not the original Paulownia elongata. And speaking about different types of Paulownia, this one is a Paulownia tomentosa, and it sits there for ornamental purposes. It grows a lot slower, but that's not a problem. The vetiver is kind of hidden here in this case because of all the other stuff, but the purpose of this vetiver here is not to nourish someone or provide material, it is to stabilize this. So any root is helping, so that's not a problem. I would think that later on the vetiver will emerge victorious over the other plants, but then with the second spring the other plants had another chance to grow, and they did. Without, the vetiver would be the only one that is green here in this area. But you can see the other plants have decided to shut down, so that means soon the vetiver should then emerge on top. Let's see what we can see here around the corner. It's similar, but there in the background you can see a clump of vetiver. Also an update on this garden area. I will show you a few details, but here is a quick overview. And here are some buckets filled with vetiver that has been harvested. We let this a few days in water and then we plant this. This is supposed to go into the wannabe food forest, but you will see that once we have done it. So here I have been a little bit negligent, but it appears not so bad. What has happened, the thing is, there are the okra plants, those here with the red stem, and they maintain themselves on top of all the other stuff, the grasses. So this is working out as I wanted. I am not really sure if I'm getting myself into trouble with all these grasses and the Bermuda grass especially. But then we are in an environment where there is a lot of grasses around, so I like not to treat them as weed. A weed is something that you want to eliminate, but my idea is to try working with them instead. So let me loop around to have the sun in the back so that you can see this a little bit better, because now I can show you that. So here, for example. So here I cut down around these okra plants and the grasses have not yet grown, and right next I have to do this, but you can see the okra is still on top. And as this gets watered daily via sprinkler, the one there. The okra with the heat is definitely growing, and it stays very well on top. So that is perfectly fine. So as long as the Bermuda grass stays below the okra, there is absolutely no problem. So I would call this a success. Of course, it's the first time, and it will not work with all kinds of crops that you would like to grow in a garden. So this is basically an idea inspired by the idea of direct seeding into existing crops. So there are people who direct seed wheat into grass after cows have been grazing on that grass, and before the grass can grow tall, the wheat has, and therefore stays on top. And then they harvest the wheat, and then the grass continues to grow. Basically that idea. So I'm trying this here because I'm a lazy gardener. I have many other things that I would like to do, and I also don't want to run a market garden where people tend to the plants every day. That is something that I think will not work in the current situation. So I don't want to try this. But eventually we might. But that is then a different thing. So here you see also the soil building mix at work. And over here, a little puddle from the sprinkler. Over here we have the mix of the palovnia trees and other things, and amongst the other things we have a melon here. There are more, there is another one, there are a few. There are even another side experiment, a few tomato plants that were seeded here. So they have not been grown in a pot and then transplanted. And as we had a tomato harvest in November last time, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And some tomatoes we will get. The seed was there, and this is not for any commercial purpose, it's more like a hobby, a little experiment on the side, and why not? And as I just said, hobby, yeah, basically everything here is a hobby at the moment. There is no way to run a commercial farm and sell a product if you don't have the soil for it. So this whole area here, all that, used to be a dense forest 2000 years ago, and then the Dehesa was created by ranching, and since then this whole area is for ranching, and there are no fields with crops here in the Sierra Morena. Down in Cordoba, that is different. There the trees got chopped away, and they plow and seed and do the industrial agriculture thing, and they grow wheat and other row crops, and also plant almonds and olive trees. And this is a completely different thing, something that we don't have up here. Up here means we are at an elevation of 650 meters, and we are in what's called a Dehesa, and that means oak trees and grasses in between. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is all this here. So here around the edge we have the vetiver grass, and it's coming up very nicely. It also gets irrigated daily to establish, and as you can see, these plants are a little bit older, maybe a week older than the other ones. They are already a very nice green, and those here, they also follow, and this soon will be a complete green wall of vetiver grass, which is there to stop erosion and make this retaining wall be stable. So it's a retaining wall without a lot of rocks. Of course, you see the rocks there. That were the rocks that we had here in this area, and the rest is the job of the vetiver grass. Here is another detail. You might have noticed that I also like to show the failures and the bad decisions. So here there are a few things that have happened. So first of all, this corn is planted a lot denser than it should. The reason is the seed was old and I was unsure whether it will still germinate. It did germinate very well. That is why we have so many, and they are not spaced right. So you see the one there that is kind of alone. It has grown a lot better than the other ones. I see one that is beginning the reproductive state or stage. It's a bit short, but then the soil is not perfect, despite the fact that we put in some horse manure and straw in here. And the other thing is that sprinkler there, it wets the area well, but not a lot of water comes here to the very edge. So when I do my watering round here in the compound, that is the task that I have taken on for myself while the guys do other things. I started to explicitly water with a hose the things here on that side, because I noticed that it's not growing very well. And you can also see that here. So this has been corrected, this problem. We should actually have 3 sprinklers here to water this in a reasonable amount of time. And as we have not done these things before, we are now learning about how to properly irrigate. So we have these and those impact sprinkler, and just a few days ago we looked at catalogs of irrigation equipment and stuff like that. But as this is not an agriculture area here, it is a ranching area, there are not many people around, so I will use the opportunity when I have to go to the city of Cordoba to go to a few places there, because down there in Cordoba there's a lot more agriculture, and then I will see what is available. It's better to buy things locally instead of trying to find everything in Amazon. This is now an opportunity to show this fat over rank. The one at the top is Schneemann and the one at the bottom looks like Olaf. And this is nothing serious, as long as they both understand the rules. So Schneemann just wants to make sure that Olaf understands who's boss. And that's important. So, sign of submission, a little bit of growling. Another attempt. Yeah, this is not so serious. And then they will part ways and everything is okay. This is important. The male dogs need to do this. The females don't. But the males, they have to do this. That is part of being a mastiff. All dogs do this, but usually you have one as a mascot. And the mastiffs that are guarding sheep, they also do this. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's normal behavior. And it would be a very bad thing to suppress it, because then all kinds of other problems show up. So as you can see, this little struggle over rank is now coming to an end. And nobody got hurt. But then of course, if someone really wants to know, it's like in a poker game, there may be blood, but not too serious. You see? Now they shook their heads, and that means that the issue has been resolved. So they are not puppies. Also, I like to see them as puppies, but they are definitely not. And whenever someone shows up that is unknown to them, they form a line along the fence of the compound, each dog 3 meters apart, and they stand guard. It's very impressive. I did not teach that to them. That is just what their instincts tell them to do. Well, it appears they have another conversation. So, let's leave them alone. This Paulownia here is growing extremely nice. It is definitely growing up to the oak behind it. And as you can see, the branches at the very bottom, they have been removed and they're still fresh. So you can see them there. As mulch and also the other stuff that was growing has been reduced, not completely cut. The idea is to let it continue, but not grow too much there. So the idea is to try the pruning the pruning method. Supposedly you use foot, prune these Paulownia trees so that they have a crown and a clean trunk. And with that one, we can try this because it sits here basically alone, and it is there for shade. Not so much for biomass because this is the dog enclosure, the future dog enclosure. This will soon be moved, so this is material for the concrete slab that will go in the place of this yurt once we have moved it. And I think by October we can start building our new pole barn in a very tiny version for our solar system. And here, if you can see this down there and the camera picks it up well, yeah, I think you can. The viewfinder is a little bit hard to see in the sun. So this continues to be full. That is our water level. So this is where our groundwater sits, 3.4 or 5 meters. So this does not evaporate and go away. So any tree that reaches that depth will have a water supply. So that's basically our objective, to go to that level and maybe raise it with more plants. And now that I'm here, I can also pan over this. So this continues to grow, but it does require a lot of water, and irrigating this with a hose is a little bit a challenging task, because you can almost spend an hour standing there. The drip irrigation that I placed here in the very beginning, I'm pulling it out so that we can reuse it for something else. It would not be enough, or it would have to be on the whole day, and then there would be dry spots in between. So this does not work. For the future we have a different idea, and that idea is to have a line with some special sprinklers like for vegetable gardens, but they can throw the water quite over distance, and we have to figure this out. There is an opportunity once we have built this and we want to establish here and all the other places in the dog enclosure the Bermuda grass as a ground cover, then we can try these things. So the point is, do we have enough water pressure to run such a system? So like I said, I need to go to specialized providers down in the city of Cordova and see what they have available. So apparently there's a distributor for Rainbird, and they make agriculture sprinklers that are of a different kind than the ones that you can buy for a garden. And I want to look into that, and that would then be suitable to irrigate a strip like this. So we will see.